And she said, honey, you're very broken. You've been hit. And I knew the last memory that I had was the truck. My name is Crystal Ayers, and I am a teacher at Piqua Central in Piqua. I have a husband, Ben, and 4 kids, Olivia, Adley, Abram, and Ada. So I ran 4 to 5 times a week. A few different friends and I would meet in Piqua, meet in Troy, run in the buildings at school, run after school, run in the mornings at 6 a.m. My friend that I was with, my great friend, she was training for a full, and I was going to be doing the half that we always do in the summer. We went to cross a road. We saw a truck there. He was stopped, so we were in the crosswalk. And as we started crossing the street, we could see that he was nudging a little bit, just slowly nudging. So my friend, Sarah Jane, hit his window because she was closer to him, to, hey, buddy, we're here. And he did not. He just kind of kept, as she was turning back and I was turning back around, I looked at her and I said, he doesn't see us. And that's the last thing I remember. I woke up. She had taken her shirt off, ripped it into thirds, wrapped it around my head because I was gushing blood. She had wrapped it around my clavicle because I was poked out.
So Crystal was running with her friend Sarah Jane. Her husband Kyle called me. So Sarah Jane had got a hold of him. Kyle calls and goes, hey, I don't have much information, but Crystal got hit by a vehicle on 25A. And I just kind of sat there dumbfounded for a few seconds and said, is she alive? And he's like, I don't know. And I'm on my way there right now. So I just kind of sat there and waited for a few minutes and called me back and shared that, I'm here. He's like, I can see her. I'm like, is she alive? Is she conscious? And he's like, yeah, she's conscious. I can hear her talking. You know, I'm like, do I come there to meet her? Or what do I do? They said, just head straight down to Miami Valley.
I believe the patient information that we got this time was a pedestrian struck by a vehicle and the patient is currently unresponsive. We do our rapid trauma assessment. We do XABC, so we make sure that she's not hemorrhaging out externally, which she wasn't. Her airway was still intact. She was able to talk to us. She was a little confused, but based on her vital signs and the color of her skin, we knew that she was in shock, so she was most likely internally bleeding. We put a pelvic binder on her just based on what we could see on the external injuries, and we're fortunate enough to carry whole blood, so we knew that our initial next step would be to give her blood. We call in a Cat 1 trauma, we talk to med control, give them a patient picture of what's going on as far as vital signs, what we've done, and how the patient is, and they'll get the trauma team ready and the trauma rooms ready for us when we arrive.
Our whole team assembles in the trauma bay getting ready to receive these patients. That includes physicians, nurses, respiratory therapists, x-ray technicians, orthopedic technicians. Everybody needs to be there so we can do whatever is needed for that particular patient. The first thing we were very concerned about is that Crystal had a low blood pressure, which is the reason CareFlight has started transfusing blood. So we activated additional blood products called a massive transfusion protocol so we could replace that large amount of blood we believe she had lost. We also do x-rays in the emergency room. We have a built-in x-ray machine right in our trauma bays. And we were able to identify that she had some rib fractures, but most importantly, she had a fracture of her pelvis. And that's a potential source for significant bleeding when we see someone with a pelvic fracture like hers. Fortunately with Crystal, when we gave her the blood products, her blood pressures responded and improved. We also placed a binder on her pelvis to help stabilize it. And with those things, we were able to stabilize her to the point where we get a CAT scan and get a better images of what her pelvic fractures looks like. Once we had that, that's when we involve our orthopedic surgeons, who are really the experts in managing these types of fractures. Although I was in this terrible situation, I felt
Like they were doing their best to treat me like a real person. We had a lot of great nurses, but two that I remember most are Maddie and Maddie, and then our buddy Devin. Devin talked to us a lot about old school Third Eye Blind music. We talked, I mean, he's probably about my age, and he's just doing his job and doing it so well, so professional. I stopped feeling uncomfortable because they just made me feel so normal, even though the situation was not. But Ben and I had our anniversary on July 12th, so we were in the trauma unit at that time, and I had made mention of it. So Maddie had created this contraption where she could like wash my hair in this in my bed, but she spent probably 2 hours making sure that I was fully clean, got my hair washed, and then the other Maddie had painted my nails. Just so sweet, so personable. And one day, Ben had rolled me out to the courtyard, and this young gentleman came over.
I was walking through the courtyard to go to the parking garage, and out of the corner of my eye, I saw somebody that looked very familiar.
And he had come over and he said, "Hey, are you Crystal?" I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Are you the runner from Piqua?" And I said, "Yeah, that's me." And he said, "I'm Travis. I'm your care flight. I was there for you on your care flight." And he said, I've been praying for you since." And I just said, "Oh my gosh." So I hugged him. I mean, it was like the sweetest.
So it was unique to be able to see a patient after that situation. So it was very rewarding, just kind of with all the training and everything that goes into this job. It was very fulfilling at that moment to be able to see that something that we did, personally helped save her life.
Everyone there was great. It was almost sad leaving. They just made me feel at home and made a terrible situation much better.